How's it going, everyone? Tuga here, back again with some more NHL 16 and my Boston Bruins GM mode. In this episode, we continue on through Season 2. However, changes have been made. Now, we are only 11 games into the season, but it looked like this was certainly not going to go our way. So we've made some early changes. Let's go over them really quick and show you what the new team looks like. So after legitimately an hour and a half of searching, mainly due to the same problem we had during the trade deadline last year, with teams really only looking to improve and really wanting you to overextend to acquire any decent player, we were fortunate enough to find some moves. I wasn't able to make all the moves I wanted, but these should generally improve the team, or at least I hope so. So let's take a look at these three deals we have made. First off, we have sent Brett Connolly back to the Tampa Bay Lightning for Brian Boyle and a 4th round pick. I'll tell you why I got Brian Boyle in a second. I'll also tell you why I got Cal Clutterbuck. We traded him for Peter Talark, someone who wasn't projected to be an NHL player. We also got a 5th round pick in that deal. And then David Quinville, who we just drafted, projected to be a top 7 defenseman, so barely an NHL defenseman, and a 4th round pick for Matt Reed and a 4th round pick. Now, I will say this isn't the lineup I intended to go with. However, I am experimenting mainly with the player morale system and the chemistry system. Michael Bodker, David Krejci, and David Pastrnak on the top line. Pastrnak and Bodker have good chemistry. We'll give that a try. Chimera David Jones with Patrice Bergeron, again, purely based off the player morale and the chemistry system. Matt Calvert with Ryan Spooner and Seth Griffith. And then the 4th line, Matt Reed, Brian Boyle, and Cal Clutterbuck. We'll take a quick look at who we have scratched. I believe it is just Alexander Koklachev. Doesn't really gel with anybody. We'll see what we can do in terms of getting him back into the lineup. And defensively, Matt Irwin back into the lineup for Joe Morrow. He's with Jason Demers on the top line. We have Torrey Krug and Zach Trotman. We're going to give Zach Trotman another chance, but he has to step up. He's playing with someone who he has high chemistry with. Now is the time. Then Kevin Miller and Luke Shen on the 3rd line. A look at the schedule ahead. We are going to sim these first 4 games leading into the Washington game, where Zane McIntyre will get the start. If he loses under any circumstances, Malcolm Subban's getting called up. The Providence Bruins are doing pretty well. So let's see what happens. Let's sim these first 4 games. Rask will get the starts, and let's see how this new team gels. And guys, we have gotten a pretty interesting trade offer. A 2nd and 3rd round pick for Joe Thornton and 2 4th round picks. I've put some thought into this one, and I'm not going to go with it. Joe Thornton's 37 years old. He has 1 year left on his deal. I'm not worried about the contract, the number itself, but giving up a 2nd round pick for someone who's surely to be a rental, I'm not going to do it. If they offer back and say 2/3 maybe, I don't know if that would be too low for them, but if they offer back, I'll do it. I'm not going to offer it to them because I don't specifically think Joe Thornton would work himself into this team, but we'll keep an eye on the situation. We have another trade offer as well, a 1st round pick in Matt Bolesky for a 2nd round pick, Radim Vrbata, and a 4th. This is an interesting one. I'm not really too keen on giving up 1st round picks, and God, no matter how much I'd like to get rid of Matt Bolesky because his situation's just been a rough one, but I don't think I want to give up the 1st round pick. We're going to decline this one as well. Alright guys, well, something's happened. You may have noticed as I was scrolling over, the last thing you saw me scroll over was the accept button, which I accidentally pressed. So we now have Radim Vrbata. I can't believe that just happened. But you know what? I'm not going to go back. What's done is done. We have traded Matt Bolesky and a 1st round pick to the Vancouver Canucks for Radim Vrbata, their 2nd and a 4th round pick. Holy shit. Now I'm going to do something that might be a little bit crazy. I'm going to send down David Pastrnak to put Vrbata into the lineup. Pastrnak is struggling. He only has 3 points. He's a minus player, and he is the only player we can send down who isn't affected by waivers. So we are essentially forced into this move. Again, it was a mistake. I didn't plan on accepting the Radim Vrbata deal, and to be honest with you, I recorded this episode once and had a deal with waivers where we actually lost a certain player. I'm not going to say who, but we lost a certain player because he was sent down despite being on a 2-way contract, and he was claimed off of waivers. So this is our 2nd time doing this episode. I accidentally hit the button. I'm going to live with it. Radim Vrbata is now on our top line with David Krejci and Mikhail Bodker. David Pastrnak will be sent down to Providence. where hopefully he can get his game under control. It would have been Seth Griffith, but he's a little bit older, and it's his time to shine. He's actually doing fairly well too. 8 points thus far for Griffith. Let's get back into the sim. And that is it for the first 4 games. As you can see, it didn't start off too well. A 3-0 loss to the Calgary Flames, but we get 3 wins in a row. 3-1 against Dallas, 4-1 against Philly, and 3-2 against the Buffalo Sabres. So it's going well. We've gotten our record back up to 7-7-1, and now it's time for Zane McIntyre to prove himself. Washington Capitals are struggling thus far. If he loses here under any circumstances, Malcolm Subban will be the new backup goalie. So here we go. We'll do this one live. Can McIntyre get the win? The team's been gelling so far, and we do get the win, and we also get a trade offer, another offer for Joe Thornton. I just really don't want to give up a second-round pick, even though it is next year. Actually, damn, it is next year. Oh, you know what? Let's take a look at this one. I don't want to do too much stuff live, but his 3rd-round pick this year, Pittsburgh's, and a 2nd-round pick for Joe Thornton. Not really sure where he'd fit into our lineup. We might have to scratch someone like Matt Calvert. I might come to hate myself for this. In 2017 here, we do have 2 2nd-round picks. Obviously no 1st-round pick now, and 2 3rd-round picks. 2018, if I take this, we'll only have a 1st-round pick, and then 4th round and beyond, we already traded our 3rd-round pick. But I think I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this deal, and we're going to see what happens. If this team still can't win, despite having a Thornton, a Verbata, and getting better and retooling, we will go through a full rebuild with these players. But for now, we're going to take this deal. Joe Thornton's on this team. Let's show you the lineup. And guys, there you see it. Matt Reed has been scratched. Joe Thornton's in. Matt Calvert's down on the 4th line. Again, now I've made 2 trades, beyond the original 3 that I never planned on making. I never thought we'd have Joe Thornton and Radim Verbata on this team, but essentially all we had to do is give up draft picks. We got out from under the Matt Bolesky deal. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not we could have used those draft picks in the future. But again, if this team doesn't pan out, if we still struggle to make the playoffs, we could always trade these guys. Who knows? If we struggle, maybe we'll trade Joe Thornton at the trade deadline and, get at least a draft pick or 2 back for him. But for now, we're doing well. Taking a look at the schedule, and I think we're going to sim up to the Washington game again, another 4 games, and then we're going to start McIntyre again. He saved his job. We'll see if he can beat the same team again. But we have a big game coming up against Detroit, the Eastern Conference leader. Let's see what happens this week. And there you see it was not the best week overall. We lose 5-2 to Detroit, a nice 4-0 victory against St. Louis. Lost to Toronto, but we bounced back with a win against Florida. Zane McIntyre again will get the start here against Washington. Once again, Zane McIntyre beats the Washington Capitals. It's a 4-3 victory. We'll get Rask back in net to play the last 2 games of this month. Again, I'll give you a look at the team and how everyone's progressing. Get your feedback on what these lineups should be. But first, Carolina and Minnesota. Let's do this. And there you have it, guys. We finish out the month of November with 2 straight wins, 2-0 Carolina, 3-0 Minnesota. So back-to-back shutouts for Tuukka Rask. And really quick looking at the month of December, it's going to be hectic. It's going to be a challenge. We have 4 different back-to-backs. So Zane McIntyre is really going to get his work in. And if he finishes the month with at least a 2-2 record, he'll stay. If not, we will take a look at Malcolm Subban, because as you can see in the right side there, 14-3-3 for the Providence Bruins, and it's all Malcolm Subban. I'll show you his stats in a minute. Maybe we want to call him up a little bit sooner, but that is the month ahead. We have a 13-9-1 record. Let's take a look at the team and get you guys set up to give me some feedback on what we should do going forward. So starting off, as we always do with goaltenders, and Tuukka Rask right now is the NHL's best goaltender. He has the best goals against average, only a 10-6-1 record, but a 9.49 save percentage. That is the NHL's best, and 5 shutouts leading the NHL. So Tuukka Rask has been a rock. He is not the issue. Backup goaltending, though, as you can see, is still a concern. Zane McIntyre, a 3.30 goals against, a 3-3 record with an 8.84 save percentage. Now again, December is a big month for us in terms of having to rely on our backup goalie. And when you see what Malcolm Subban's doing, we'll switch right now. 14-3-1 record, a 1.67 goals against, a 9 .340 save percentage, absolutely leading the way for the Providence Bruins. So what do we do? I'll leave the question up to you guys. Do we go with McIntyre and see how he does in the month of December, or do we call up Malcolm Subban? The only problem is, despite being on a two-way contract, we do have waivers with Zane McIntyre, so we can't send him down without the risk of losing him. So if we call up Subban, McIntyre is going to have to sit on the NHL roster and will not get any playing time. Defense, and no surprise, Torrey Krug leading the way, 15 points. He has 11 goals in 23 games. That's insane. Jason Demers still a -10. He's slowly starting to turn it around. And from there, point totals, really aren't much. Not that we really need them to be. Luke Shen at +5. That's probably the most important thing. Joe Morrow, who's been sitting from Matt Irwin, had decent enough stats. Irwin only a point in these 12 games, but he is a +6. Kevin Miller's still in the lineup, he's a +4, and Zach Trotman, it's getting a little bit better from a -17 now to a -13. But really the big thing is here, what do we do with Zach Trotman? Do we put Joe Morrow back in the lineup? Because I already know what everyone's going to say, or the few people that comment on this, and for those who do, I thank you. And I'll get back onto that topic in a minute towards the end of this video. But Zach Trotman, do we get rid of him? Do we send him down? Or do we just scratch him? Who do we bring in to replace him? We could look for a trade, or we could put, just say, Joe Morrow back in. And in terms of Providence, there's really only one guy who is looking like he's ready. That's Linus Arneson. Again, he had a rough preseason. He's doing well right now in the AHL, and from there it kind of gets a little bit worse. Tommy Cross, only a 75. It's not looking like he's going to be any more than a depth player, which really sucks. Wickstrand's getting a little bit better, still a 75, and Colin Miller, a 77, is struggling. And then we have Jared Hauff, who's getting better quickly, which is very good for us, and then Brendan Carlo, but neither of those two are ready. So really, what should we do? Should it be Linus Arneson to replace Zach Trotman? Should it be Joe Morrow, or should I explore trade ventures? Right wings, and despite the trade acquisition being a mistake, Radim Verbata's on fire for us right now. 17 points in 24 games. He's having a good season. David Jones really turning it around now that he's on that second line with Patrice Bergeron. And that's really going to be the tough thing, is do we separate those guys now that they are clearly showing that the chemistry's paying off. Seth Griffith struggling a little bit. 10 points in 23 games isn't too bad. He is a minus player. Cal Clutterbuck, 5 points on that fourth line. Then, of course, David Pasternak, who we sent down. He was struggling. However, he is tearing up the AHL. You can see him at the bottom, 5 points in 8 games. But Brian Ferland down in Providence right now, 15 points in 20 games. That's pretty damn good. Brian Gibbons is a depth player. Ty Randell, again, someone who could be fitting into that fourth line grind spot. He still has 2 more years of development as well, or actually 1 more year of development. He could pan out. But do we call up Brian Ferland, or do we roll with who we've been going with and just maybe mix up the lines from there? But again, Radim Verbata, so far, it's paying off. Left wings, and Michael Bodker, not quite at the pace we'd like him at, but 14 points in 23 games isn't too bad. Matt Calvert is struggling, only 8 points in 23 games. And then Jason Chimera doesn't seem to be reacting in the same way that Jones has, playing with better offensive people. Again, ideally he'd be on the fourth line grind spot. And then Matt Reed, 14 points in 3 games, has been scratched since the Joe Thornton acquisition. Taking a look at the AHL, and we do have Taylor Lear, I don't know. Regardless, 14 points in 20 games isn't too bad, but yes, he is only a 75 overall. Anton Bleed as well, 77 overall, 11 points in 20 games. So neither of these two might be ready yet, but it's worth noting that they're making good progress, and again, 22 and 21 years old respectively. And then of course the big question is, what do we do with our centers? As you can see, captain and former captain Bergeron and Thornton leading the way, 15 points each in 23 games. Joe was a big time minus player when he was on San Jose. Brian Boyle on our fourth line, 8 points in 22 games, not too bad. David Krejci, though, is really struggling, only 6 points in 23 games. He's been on the first line for most of the season. What do we do with him? Koklachev's been scratched, and he has as many points as Krejci did with 12 less games. And Ryan Spooner on the third line, only 5 points in 23 games. So really the question is, what do we do now? Where do we put Joe Thornton? Do we put him in a center spot, or do we move him off to a wing? The same thing could be said with Krejci and Koklachev. What do we do with these players? And down in the AHL, in terms of guys, there's really only one. It's Austin Czarnik, 18 points in 20 games for Providence. We have a lot of center depth, and honestly, depending on how this goes, if we're in a good spot towards the trade deadline, if we're looking like we might be able to make the playoffs, Zarnik, Koklachev, one of these guys is probably going to have to go. We just have too much center depth, and it would probably be useful to trade away one of them. But what do we do for now in the meantime when we have these guys there? From here, the rest of our AHL center prospects are doing all right. Vetrano, Asiari, and Phillips all at 9 points apiece. It gets a little bit worse from there. But again, what do we do with Austin Zarnik in the AHL? And then what do we do with these 6 centers in the NHL? I do want to keep Brian Boyle on that 4th line. What do we do with the other 5 players? And guys, that is it for this episode. I thank you all for watching. Again, get me your feedback on that. I want to make this series as interactive as possible. I want to get you guys involved, and for those that have gotten involved on the ground floor here of my channel, you know, I'm just over 2 months into it now. I thank you very much, and again, I want to make this series more consistent. I have been ill for the past couple of days, which is why we haven't seen a video, but again, this will be more consistent. This, along with the tutorials and my Bruins recaps, are going to be the 3 main things you will see. As always, if you've enjoyed, like the video down below, subscribe for more, and let me know what we should do with this team. I posed a lot of questions to you. That's going to be the format now for pretty much every episode. Don't forget to share this with your friends. Again, I'm a new channel, and really it's word of mouth that's going to get me anywhere, along with really the tutorial series. It's harder to kind of share a GM mode series, but if you do, I very much appreciate it. And I will see you all next time.